I'm going to continue my commentary on this book right here. Alright, we're going to start with the paralytic man. Now, what is a paralytic man? Okay, this is a person that is paralyzed, whether it be partially paralyzed from the waist down, whether it be a full quadriplegic paralyzation where you have no movement of your arms, legs, and everything else. It doesn't matter how paralyzed the guy was. He was paralyzed. Now, that created a little bit of a problem. You see, in modern times when somebody's paralyzed, people are like, oh, it's so sad, and they give you all this pity and all this other stuff. Back then, it was, okay, what sin did you commit, and how bad was the sin that it caused you to be like this? These people that got these kind of diseases, whether it be leprosy or paralysis or whatever it was, they were basically social outcasts. Most of their family would have nothing to do with them. And it was even worse because they couldn't exactly just go to the marketplace and buy whatever they wanted. Many merchants wouldn't sell to these people, wouldn't go near them, because they were sinners. They were outcasts. As beggars, they could only hope that they would eat from day to day. Some of them actually starved to death like that. See what I mean? So it wasn't that the guy was just paralyzed. He was declared a social outcast, and therefore he was treated pretty poorly. Okay. Now you say, well, couldn't he have just asked for forgiveness? Well, that became a problem too. You got to keep in mind how the peasant system worked in Galilee. Okay. Peasants were near or at the poverty level. A lot of them were in debt. So they couldn't raise the kind of sacrifices, which was usually lambs. They couldn't raise the lambs that they needed to raise to make the proper sacrifices at the temple. Now here's the second problem. The second problem is that Galilee is not like 5 steps from Jerusalem. You have to walk quite a distance from Galilee to Jerusalem. Just take a look at the map. You'll see for yourself. So it was impractical for these people, even if they did have the proper sacrifice, to walk all that way with the sacrifice all the way to Jerusalem from Galilee. See the problem? They say, well, why they had the tables. Remember, Jesus turned over all those tables, the money changing tables. And they just go up there, do their money changing, and then get their sacrifices there. Well, yeah, that would all work out fine if they weren't on the poverty level. They couldn't afford to do that either. So they really couldn't get good. They couldn't get forgiven of sins because they couldn't make their sacrifices. That's when Jesus showed up. Alright, so Jesus is showing up. It doesn't take long for his reputation to go around. Oh, Jesus is a healer. Well, somehow this paralytic man had friends, and those friends brought him to Jesus. Now, they were hoping for two things. They were hoping that this paralytic man would be forgiven of his sins, and they were hoping that his body would be healed. Because if he was forgiven of his sins and his body was healed, then he would no longer be a social outcast, and therefore he could assume a normal life again. Well, of course Jesus forgave the sins and also healed the body. Now this created quite a little problem, because if you could get your sins forgiven and your body healed by somebody that wasn't even near the temple, didn't work for the temple, had nothing to do with the temple, then the temple would go out of business pretty quick. Why go to the temple? We'll just go to this Jesus fella. He'll do it. And he doesn't require a sacrifice, and he doesn't require any tokens. He doesn't require anything. Well, you can just about imagine how this set with the scribes. Remember these scribes? They were like the understudies of the Pharisees. It didn't set too well with them when they saw Jesus healing that paralytic. So, to challenge Jesus, what these scribes did was they started talking with one another. And they talked very loudly so everybody could hear their discussion. Well, this put Jesus on the spot. And so Jesus used his discourse at that moment to shun the temple. Particularly shun the Pharisees and the scribes that were underneath them, and even the priests. Whoa. You talk about a mess. It's about that point that they started formulating a plan to get rid of this Jesus. After all, if they didn't get rid of Jesus, then the temple would shut down. And they knew it. And that couldn't be allowed, could it? Alright. I will tell you more in a future video. Stay tuned.